Hello and welcome people of the internet. Some different gameplay in the background. Not any more stupid cube game. 100% not because I couldn't get past the previous level because I didn't understand how to do it. Most definitely not. It's not how we do it around here. Don't insult me for the amount of time it took me to choose a map, or the fact that I get down on round 7. That's irrelevant. Rice gum. Irrelevant. But anyway, that's nothing to do with this video. Today's video, I'm going to be speaking about the Joe Rogan Elon Musk interview and the sort of backlash it had on Elon Musk for some unknown reason. So, for those of you that don't know, Joe Rogan, UFC commentator, he likes himself a podcast. 1,169 of them to be precise, or at least as of recording this. So episode 1,169 is the Elon Musk podcast. So he's had like a lot of celebrities on before and stuff like that, but in my opinion this is probably the deepest podcast that he's had. Which is, step up in the world of podcasts. We've had one of the most intellectual men, in fact I'm going to go to say the most intellectual man or even person of this generation. Yeah, I was going to say that. So he decides to bring Elon Musk on his podcast just to have a nice little chat for 2 hours. And so I decided to watch the 2 hours of podcast. Pretty interesting stuff. They speak about AI and the future of Tesla. They even little teasers at things that Elon's working on. But obviously, in true Elon fashion, not all questions can be answered without some form of cryptic messaging behind it. There's always some form of secret hidden message behind it. So they go on and they're speaking for a little while, and then they bring out some whiskey, have nice little drink. That sound was disgusting, but I'm going to keep that there, and it's going to haunt your soul, and you're going to appreciate that, because I don't care for how you feel about anything. That doesn't sound very nice, but I'll at least turn the audio down, of course. But anyway, off topic. Let's get back to it. So they've had their drinks of whiskey, and they're like just speaking. They end up speaking about like chimps and fucking AI, how far away we are from AI, if AI is gonna like take over the world, if we're in a simulation or if we're heading towards a simulation, whatever it is. Then, before I get onto the quote-unquote bad part of the interview, or what was seen as such horrendous behaviour from such a man, I'm just going to tell you what this podcast is, and where it's recorded and stuff, right? So it's recorded in Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles. Same thing, right? But anyway, those of you that may know, the law of smoking marijuana, I'm pretty sure the first, if I'm not mistaken, the first 2 states to legalise it was Colorado and California. Now it's legal in most states. I don't know if it's all states, but I'm pretty sure that it's legal in at least like 40 states. So, yeah, keep this in mind. This is a clue that we need to remember for later. So, time passes by. It's about 2 hours or so into the podcast. Joe decides. Let me bring out a little blunt, and it's tobacco and weed that he's got in the blunt, right? So, lights it. One inhale, puffs. Elon goes, is that like posh or some shit? It's just something about it being like a posh blunt or something. Pretty funny, to be honest. But they're like having a laugh, and then he says, "Have you ever had anything like this?" And he's like, "Maybe once or twice." Essentially, passes the blunt over to Elon. Elon, little inhale, little bubble, little a bubble. I mean a cloud. I mean a cloud. A little cloud appears. Ah, big mistake. Unfortunately, you smoked weed in somewhere where it's legal. Oh, wow. This is some incriminating stuff. So time passes by. He ends up going like marijuana isn't appealing to me because he's a very productive man, obviously, and everyone knows he's a very productive man, right? And he says, he doesn't even say, right, that you should smoke weed if you want to, or do drugs if you want to. He literally says what he thinks of it, and it's that he doesn't like it because it slows down productivity, and he doesn't want to slow down the productivity of himself or his brain. And they essentially speak on that, and then they want to speak about how fucking someone gave a monk like loads of acid and he never felt anything. Elon also says that he never felt anything from the marijuana. He doesn't feel any different at that. Given, yes, it was one puff, but you know he's just making that clear, right? So they go on and they just speak about drugs for a little bit. Then they finish off the podcast essentially by saying how far away from the Earth they could travel and that they could inhabit Mars and the Jupiter's moons, Saturn and stuff like that. And realistically, just throughout the podcast, they speak about how technology is like evolving, and he could make a flying car if he wanted to. Just it would be very difficult to find a place where it's available. He talked about pets, big pets, you know. He liked talking about pets during the podcast. World famous quote of "I'm a business magnet." That's the words of a legend right there. Because he actually does quite a lot of engineering stuff, which I was aware of, but I never realised the majority of his career was him doing engineering stuff as opposed to business stuff. Because obviously you see a man like Elon Musk and you just think businessman, no, business magnet. Because all the business want to come to him. It makes sense because he attracts the businesses. Don't know why that was so hard to say, but anyway, podcast ends, becomes public. What happens as soon as this is made public? Insert screenshot of Tesla stocks. Tesla stocks drop. News articles made. Elon Musk is an idiot. He smoked the weed. Imagine smoking the weed. Wow. In a place where it's very much so legal. This criminal, this idiot of a man doesn't know what he's doing. Doesn't know how much of a big mistake he's made. I'm just going to pick out a few of my favourite tweets and articles and just show you a few of them to show you how stupid people really are. So we've got our Vice article. Elon Musk just made weed lame. Yahoo Finance. Tesla needs to get Elon Musk some help. Tesla shares tumble upon news of 2 senior executives leaving the company and something to do with him smoking weed. He smoked weed and drank whiskey during a podcast, and Tesla's board is terrible at his job. Right, so there's just 4 or 5 examples of some of the articles that were tweeted out, and obviously seen the stocks. The stocks dropped by 9%, although some companies are trying to exaggerate that and say 10, but you're just making them out to be worse than, I was going to say what even is, but it's not even bad, like, in the slightest. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever why they even dropped that much or whatever. But the Vice article essentially saying that he's just made weed lame. I'm pretty sure that Vice literally feeds off of people smoking weed. I'm pretty sure the Twitter banner is a bloodshot eye, but that's besides the point. We can excuse that for the time being. Other articles like the one that said he needs some help. I'm sorry to tell you, but he smoked weed once on a podcast, and you're getting like critically offended over something like that. It's kinda embarrassing. Might want to just fix that issue of feeling so offended over such a little thing that means nothing to you. And then that Tesla are bad at, the Tesla executives are bad at their job because it was apparently seen as something that he'd done to purposely kill off small investors or whatever, but it's just not the case. He just didn't want to be a sort of spoilt sport or whatever, and he just wanted to join in. Like, they could have critiqued him for drinking the whiskey, but instead they're just like, he done the marijuana. Oh my god, the marijuana, that's so illegal, man. Like, just shut up. Honestly, it doesn't make any sense as to why you're critiquing essentially what is the human version of Tony Stark. That's, and I'm not talking Robert Downey Jr., but this is literally the world's Tony Stark. He's a really rich man who makes incredible technology. That's literally Tony Stark. So why are you trying to critique him to try and force stock drops or whatever they're trying to do? Because I can 100% guarantee that half the investors that had decided to pull out because of the weed thing is because of the stupid articles like he needs help, or he's made something lame, or the executives aren't properly looking after him and are just trying to get rid of short or small investors. Like, that was an unintentional joke. I didn't mean that, because you get short-term investors, that's what I meant. But why are things like that having such a large effect on him? They shouldn't, because the part they're also missing out, I think one of the articles out of the 5 that I flashed up involved that 2 executives actually left, which could be a different cause, because they could have took out a 5 and 4% like buy it into the market to become stockholders of part of the company, as well as what they actually already own for working with Elon. But you know, that's never something that you should take into consideration. That's just far too stupid, far too wide, and far too unacceptable. But it's just so simple that why is that an issue? Why is him just enjoying himself on a podcast such an issue? Given it supposedly breaches the SpaceX terms and conditions. He basically owns SpaceX. It doesn't make any sense as to why he's being held against something or held up for something, which is, in my eyes, very minute and should be in the eyes of majority of the population, because it's not like he's doing heroin, it's not like he's doing crack or cocaine. He's doing something that is 100% legal in the place where the interview is. This is the man, right? I just want to put this in perspective. This is the man that is, I'm not even going to say it could possibly be, but this is the man that's going to be responsible for the first person to land on Mars, or the first person to land on one of Jupiter's moons, or the first person to land on Jupiter or Saturn or whatever, right? This is going to be the first person that innovates space travel to such an extent that people won't even be able to comprehend how incredible it is. Like me, I'm really not a fan of electric cars, despite like all the CO2 emissions and stuff. I'm just not really a big fan of electric cars. That may be personally just my opinion, and personally I prefer gasoline cars, but I still think that Elon's Tesla design and ideas that he has are absolutely like extraordinary. He has innovated the way that current travel is being seen. The Model S P100D has it has a distance of like 350 miles or something. For a sedan the same size that is gasoline run, it's probably very difficult to get a sedan to go that far without needing to be refueled. May I also just remind you that it is free to be supercharged, because you get a reference which allows you to have free charge for a lifetime, not just for like 1 year, whatever, but forever. You get all of that forever from a car. Yes, given it's like $143,000 for a stock one. Well, the best one, obviously, the P100D, which is the highest in like all the technology. It's obviously the P standing for performance, and it's got so much stuff on it, right? Given that it'll be the stock colour with stock insides and stuff, if you want to change that, that's just a sort of look thing. It's an aesthetic, it's not something that's required. But for a car costing $143,000, rather than having to buy petrol for a car that can sort of, obviously there's not a car that can accelerate at such a rate that the Tesla does for like any of their cars realistically, other than the Model 3. That's probably the one that I'd suggest is the most realistic, which even then is $35,000 for a 75 P75, no 75D, sorry. So that's yet again really cheap for a car, and I'm not 100% sure if the supercharging is actually free on that or not, but if it is, then that's obviously like a huge save, because if you want to get a car similar to the Model S P100E, which is $140,000, right? Quite expensive. But if you want to get a car in a similar size that has similar acceleration, you're probably going to be spending like probably 100 grand for something like that. But then when you factor in all the possible changes that you're going to need to make to the engine, turbo installation, petrol, everything like that. You've got all of these different factors, and eventually within the lifetime of the car, you're going to end up paying a dramatically higher expense for something that's not as sufficient as a Tesla. So it's kind of just stupid. And what he's doing with space travel, where he's actually launched a car into space, and he's launched many rockets into space. With his development throughout space technology, he is going to be the man that ends up landing the first man on, whether it be Saturn, Jupiter's moons. Although I don't think he can actually land on Jupiter due to the storm that's like just ongoing for some unknown reason. Mars. He will be the first person to land us on all of the planets and or moons. Even if it's not within his lifetime, his ideology is going to be the stuff that leads us to incredible ideas, incredible places, and there's nothing that anyone can really say to devalue that, because he's just the smartest human being that is currently alive, and he's the second richest man on the earth, or second richest person on the earth, sorry. So there's nothing that you can really do to devalue that. It is just facts. It's just stuff that you must accept. He's just an intelligent man. Just accept it. Stop trying to deface him. Stop trying to get rid of everything that he has done for people. He has powered countries using electric power, and he's probably going to do it for many more. He's going to change the way that power is seen, the way that space travel is seen, the way that ordinary travel is seen, and when eventually he manages to improve loads of other modes of transportation, he's going to be the one that you thank. Maybe if the power goes out in your state, country, whatever, maybe Elon Musk is going to be the one that actually saves you or helps your country out by giving it some form of power through electric power or through some other form of renewable energy. So I just want that to kind of stick with people that think negatively against Elon Musk for what happened on the Joe Rogan podcast. It's nothing at all bad, and it's nothing that should be seen as bad, because all he did was just, he just went, it's legal, right? That's literally what he said. He literally didn't want to kill off what was just an enjoyable podcast. He literally just drank a little bit of whiskey and smoked a joint. That was it. Nothing else. Nothing incriminating. Nothing incriminating at all, actually. He was just being an ordinary guy on an ordinary podcast. But this man is not so ordinary, he's extraordinary, and he's going to change the way that people think about everything in life. That's all I really have to say on the situation, and if you enjoy videos like this, that's awkward. If you enjoy videos like this, be sure to stick around, maybe leave a like on the video, and or subscribe. You know, I like to bring out videos like this every couple of days to every day, depending on how often I can get the videos out. So, if you enjoyed this video, you enjoy these types of videos, feel free to come back, leave another like. Thanks very much. That's been the Ripperrr. Goodbye.